A very warm welcome to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and investors. Welcome from the beautiful island paradise, Sri Lanka, the pearl of the Indian Ocean. And welcome to the Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021, the first and the largest virtual investment forum in Asia. We are privileged to have you tuned in, and we hope that over the next 3 days, this forum will provide you valuable insights on Sri Lanka and its potential as the top destination for investment. The Investment Forum is jointly organized by the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, and the Colombo Stock Exchange. This forum will be inaugurated shortly by His Excellency the President of our Republic himself. And the inauguration session will feature the State Minister in charge of the portfolio of money and capital markets, the Honorable Nivad Cabral. But first, to introduce the forum to you and welcome you formally, I am delighted to present the Chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Hans Wijayasuriya.
Your Excellency Gotabaya Rajapaksa, President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers and officials of the Government of Sri Lanka, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, honored delegates to the Sri Lanka Investment Forum from 65 countries across 5 continents, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning and Ayubowan. On behalf of the co-chairs of the Sri Lanka Investment Forum, Sanjay Mohottala, Chairman of the Board of Investment, and Dumit Fernando, Chairman of the Colombo Stock Exchange, their respective institutions, and the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, it is a distinct honor and privilege to welcome you all to the Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021. Invest Sri Lanka is both a proposition of partnership from an investment destination enriched with innate potential and opportunity, as well as an invitation from the people of a nation known for its deep-rooted culture of hospitality. The opportunity that Sri Lanka presents, I believe, is beyond debate. A comparison of potential versus baseline at sectoral and national level, as well as the breadth and depth of innate and undercapitalized resources, point to the potential for rapid growth. To cite a few growth levers, an underexploited tourism proposition, uniquely located deep sea ports, knowledge-rich human capital, world-class ICT ecosystems, excellence in apparel manufacture, and natural products, crops, and minerals, which are unique to the pearl of the Indian Ocean. The conversation, then, is one which centers on whether Sri Lanka possesses the underlying policy frameworks, enabling environments, consistent policy execution, and macro-environmental fundamentals in order to facilitate the transformation of undisputed opportunity and potential into real growth. SLIF 2021 has been designed to engender just this conversation. And to answer these questions, the forum brings together a wide spectrum of policymakers, economists, and bankers, development planners, facilitation agencies, and industry leaders to provide deep insight into the fundamentals which underlie the Invest Sri Lanka proposition. Growth potential, de-risked by a consistent policy framework and enriched through an investment facilitation ecosystem, provides fertile ground for capital formation. Indeed, when growth capital combines with innate and underexploited potential, the result is a new nucleus of growth. This is a formula which has triggered successive growth havens across Asia over the past 5 decades. As the Asian growth wave continues to build momentum, we are confident that Sri Lanka, uniquely located as the gateway to South Asia, will indeed be Asia's next growth haven. The forum will build the Invest Sri Lanka dialogue from the foundation of the country's policy framework and macroeconomic backdrop. Sri Lanka envisions a doubling of its economy over the next decade and has spelled a clear commitment to growth through its investment and tax policies. In focus, then, will be the management and expansion of the fiscal space and the calibration of growth versus debt alongside deficits management, importantly, through a confluence of domestic productivity initiatives and external sector policies. The external sector is pivotal to the calibrated growth formula. The forum will illuminate the primary instruments of foreign investment policies, trade policies, and export facilitation frameworks. Provision for 100% foreign ownership is nothing new, nor an exception in Sri Lanka. The repatriation experience of foreign investors has been likewise unblemished, as has been the honoring of the 25 over investment protection agreements to which Sri Lanka is a signatory. The forum will evidence the on-ground experience of long-term foreign investors, as well as new entrants, and also detail the investment facilitation framework enabled by the Board of Investment and other agencies. SLIF will also illuminate the interplay between the foreign investment policies and equally progressive trade and export policy. Sri Lanka's preferential trade agreements have spawned an external market space of over 2.5 billion consumers, and our export development framework facilitates the conversion of preferential access into globally competitive outputs and growth opportunities for investors. Also in focus is investor access. Friction-free direct investment and repatriation constructs have enabled FDI over the past decades. Equally, the Colombo Stock Exchange provides a buoyant platform for portfolio investments and has been consistently rated as one of the best performing capital markets in Asia. Sri Lanka's listed corporates exhibit in accumulation attractive index returns and dividend yields on the backdrop of modest valuations relative to regional peers. The forum will illuminate not only the positives, but also areas where work is in progress at speed. Sri Lanka takes head-on, with commitment from the highest levels of government, the lagging indicators within the Ease of Doing Business Index. The forum will discuss at ministerial level the government's commitment to fast-track transformation across the spheres of legal system capacities and processes, alternate dispute resolution constructs, broad-based deregulation, institutional reform, and the accelerated digitization of institutional interfaces. Sri Lanka's legal reforms extend beyond process acceleration alone. Mature frameworks encompassing intellectual property, electronic transactions, and cyber laws have been in place for several years, while the establishment of data protection and privacy frameworks to support digital ecosystems of the future are imminent. Sri Lanka is first ranked in the region on the Human Development Index. Child labor has never been a topic on Sri Lanka's manufacturing landscape, and we stand out as an equal opportunity and ethical production destination. We are proud of our uniquely literate citizenry and inclusive education systems, which have led to a knowledge-driven economy with a forecasted tripling of graduate resources and a 2.5x growth in ICT exports by the year 2025. The New World Order indeed is one where digital readiness and maturity is inextricably linked to a nation's competitiveness. Founded on innate excellence in ICT competence, Sri Lanka's digital economy and digital transformation programs are designed to drive domestic efficiencies in parallel with seamless global linkages. The world order is also one which is marred by harsh externalities, both man-made and natural. Investors today seek out resilience and agility, facets well evidenced in Sri Lanka's V-shaped post-COVID recovery with respect to exports and domestic production sectors. Resilience is deep set in Sri Lanka's DNA and is evidenced across public and private sector ecosystems. The resilience of a nation's socio-economy is a subset of the broader topic of sustainability, an edict which is deep-rooted in Sri Lanka's development fabric. A focus on renewable energy, climate change, and a commitment to an organic-centered green socio-economy are embedded in the strategic evolution of energy, manufacturing, and agriculture sectors. The forum will also triangulate the topics of food security, domestic production, and agriculture modernization, accumulating to the optimization of macroeconomic indices in parallel with growth acceleration. A country at the inflection point of its growth gradient will necessarily feature sharp pivots in terms of transformative initiatives. The forum will dialogue on Sri Lanka's Port City Special Economic Zone, innovation in offshore financial services, and the parallel development of multiple deep sea ports, to mention a few. All mega initiatives which will fuel a sharp uplift in the country's growth gradient. Sri Lanka's broader investment opportunities span a wide spectrum of sectors. The forum will deep dive into tourism, ICT, apparel, pharma, agriculture, and infrastructure development. Sri Lanka's commitment to compete and excel on Asia's investment landscape is indelibly coupled with the vision and commitment of the country's government and leadership. Today, we are singularly honored to have with us His Excellency the President, who will frame the Invest Sri Lanka proposition in the context of his vision for the nation. Commencing with His Excellency the President, the Invest Sri Lanka proposition is collectively espoused by stakeholders who will themselves be the partners, enablers, and importantly, the underwriters of investment and growth going forward. We are grateful for the momentous support and contribution rendered by our ministerial speakers, ambassadors, high commissioners, and their respective missions in Sri Lanka and overseas. The 60 over public and private sector project promoters and 90 over speakers and panelists, policymakers, regulators, multilateral institutions, listed corporates, the teams from the Board of Investment, Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, and the Colombo Stock Exchange. And finally, and importantly, our strategic partners and sponsors. I make mention of all these pivotal stakeholders, not only to thank them on behalf of the conveners of SLIF 2021, but also to point to the collective passion behind the exposition of the Invest Sri Lanka proposition. I am confident that this collective passion truly represents and embodies Sri Lanka's commitment to deliver on its holistic growth investment proposition. The forum is only the beginning of what we envisage to be an ongoing platform for the seeding of investment partnership, a platform which enables the lighting up of multifaceted growth pathways which are mutually reinforcing and mutually rewarding for all participants in Sri Lanka's decade of growth. I wish you all good health and a rewarding and fruitful engagement at the Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021. Ayubowan.
Thank you, Dr. Vijay Surya. Ladies and gentlemen, Sri Lanka means business. And so the inauguration address at this forum will be presented by no less than His Excellency, the President of our Republic, who will share with you, the investor community, and present from the very apex his vision for the nation. To inaugurate the Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021, we are deeply honored to present and welcome the President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, His Excellency Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Ayubowan. Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa, Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, Co-Chairs of Sri Lanka Investment Forum, foreign and Sri Lankan delegates, friends. It gives me great pleasure to address you at the inaugural session of the Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021. This event takes a holistic view of the many and varied investment opportunities Sri Lanka offers across all sectors of its economy. It brings together the Board of Investment, Colombo Stock Exchange, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, alongside key policymakers, entrepreneurs, and business leaders. This will encourage robust dialogue and information sharing about our investment environment, and it will highlight opportunities for direct investments as well as opportunities in capital markets and debt markets. This investment forum comes at an important time for Sri Lanka. My government has ambitious plans to unleash a decade of transformational and rapid economic growth to double our national output from its current level to $8,000 GDP per capita by 2030. Our unique geostrategic position, political stability, robust institutions and social infrastructure, educated and capable workforce, and high quality of life are some of Sri Lanka's current strengths. We will leverage on these to set the platform for our growth target. In addition, significant improvements to our infrastructure are continually being made. These include increasing power generation from renewable sources, improving connectivity through upgrading of road and rail networks, and further expansion and improvements to our ports that will all facilitate our development drive. We are deeply committed to maintaining policy stability and consistency within a stable macroeconomic environment. Our legal and regulatory frameworks are being refined to ensure greater responsiveness, transparency, and security for investors. Unnecessary bureaucratic red tape is being removed, and procedures are being streamlined to ensure greater ease of doing business. As President of Sri Lanka, I am determined to see these changes through and to further improve our already welcoming environment for investment. There are significant opportunities across many economic sectors in Sri Lanka that can provide tremendous returns to foreign and local investors alike. With its geostrategic location only a few hours away by air from major global hubs, Sri Lanka is one of the best connected nations in all of South Asia. The commercial capital Colombo is one of the most attractive and livable cities in the region. The many opportunities this city affords will soon be greatly enhanced by the Colombo Port City, a new cityscape that will feature world-class residential, commercial, social, and entertainment facilities. Our vision to make the port city a key service hub for one of the fastest growing regions in the world. Its residents will have all the facilities they need to do productive work while enjoying a very high quality of life in a vibrant tropical beachside environment that fuses the best of both and old and new. Special legislation has already been passed to ensure special incentives and exemptions for businesses that can have a broad economic impact. We encourage business leaders from all nations to make full use of the unique strengths and many opportunities that the port city affords by investing here. For centuries, Sri Lanka has been a hub that connected the East and the West. With its world-class port infrastructure in Colombo and in Hambantota, the country is capable of providing services even to the largest container ships that traverse the busy Indian Ocean. The country is therefore well positioned to be a transshipment and logistics hub for the region. And we strongly encourage investments in this area. Legacy legislation and regulations that impede such investments are in the process of being revisited and revised to facilitate this. With its very fertile environment and deep history of cultivation, Sri Lanka has a rich agrarian heritage spanning thousands of years. With climate change becoming an increasing threat to food security the world over, we seek to combine this rich heritage with new technological advances to dramatically and sustainably enhance our agricultural output. My government has taken a strong policy stance in support of healthy organic agriculture. I'm confident that in the future, Sri Lanka can supply high quality agricultural produce to health conscious, demanding consumers in the region. Many opportunities for investment will be created in this context. Given our national commitment to further enhancing our forest cover, the productivity of our agriculture base must improve without further increasing land use. We therefore welcome investments into new technologies and farming practices that can increase yields in organic, healthy, and sustainable ways. We also seek improvements to our animal husbandry and fisheries sectors that can sustainably increase their productivity. Investments into value-adding businesses that can increase the export potential of our agricultural produce as well as our traditional export crops such as tea, rubber, and coconut are strongly encouraged. As Sri Lanka seeks to expand its industrial base, one of the most significant requirements will be increased power generation. My government is committed to reducing the use of fossil fuels and ensuring that clean, renewable sources of energy contribute 70% of our national power requirements by 2030. We therefore invite investments into large-scale solar and wind power projects that can sustainably augment our power supply and set the platform for further industrialization and economic growth. Sri Lanka has vast resources of raw materials that are used in several high-tech industries. We are keen to encourage investments into manufacturing industries that will add value to these resources and set the country on the path towards becoming a manufacturer of electronic components for the global market in the future. The information technology sector in Sri Lanka is especially robust. We have several companies that have made their mark internationally, and high-quality educational institutions produce many skilled workers in this field each year. Our ongoing educational reforms will further enhance the quality and size of our IT workforce in the future. The government is taking other proactive steps in addition to such talent development. This includes building new infrastructure, including IT parks, and enacting supportive policy mechanisms, including a zero tax policy for tech companies headquartered in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's geographic proximity to major undersea cables that transmit millions of terabytes of data make it an attractive destination for data centers and other operations that serve the information requirements of the region. This potential is being further strengthened with new legislation on personal data protection that is being formulated to bring the country's legal and regulatory environment in line with global standards. Sri Lanka has long been favored as a destination for tourists from all over the world. Even though it has been severely impacted by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Sri Lanka is seeking to revitalize its vibrant tourism industry to take advantage of the likely post-pandemic travel boom. Investments are therefore welcome into hotels, resorts, entertainment facilities, and novel tourism projects that will attract high-spending tourists into the country. With its robust public healthcare system, augmented by globally accredited private hospitals and world-class, highly qualified and experienced medical professionals, Sri Lanka is also well placed to benefit from the growing global medical tourism industry. Investments into medical tourism projects are therefore encouraged, as are wellness tourism projects that will leverage our rich heritage of mindfulness, holistic healthcare, and our Ayurvedic tradition. With its many attractions, sound infrastructure, high quality of life, and its dynamic, educated, and intelligent youth, Sri Lanka can also be a viable destination for leading universities to set up campuses that attract students from around the region. My government is prepared to proactively support such investments, just as it will truly transformative investments into the many other sectors I have discussed in this address. During the course of these 3 days, participants at this event will be able to study these and the many other opportunities Sri Lanka affords in detail. Equally importantly, you will be able to connect directly with policymakers at the highest level, as well as technical experts, project owners, and potential partners who can support your investment ambitions in Sri Lanka. The government of Sri Lanka is proactive and pro-businesses. We will look very favorably upon investments that can have a transformative impact on our economy as well as our national profile. And we will do our utmost to create an enabling environment for the success of such investments. We now stand amidst a national transformation process that will not only uplift Sri Lanka, but have a positive impact on the entire region while creating tremendous value for investors across multiple sectors and through diverse instruments. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to join us on this transformational journey by investing in Sri Lanka. I hereby inaugurate this landmark investment forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your very inspiring address. and the confidence you have given to the investor community with your elaborate and emboldened plans for the nation. To complete the inauguration session and set the stage for our plenary sessions at this investment forum, who better to have addressed us than the State Minister of Money and Capital Markets and State Enterprise Reforms. Please welcome the Honorable Nivad Cabral.
His Excellency the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa, the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, the Chairman of the Sri Lanka's Chamber of Commerce, Hans Vijayasuriya, and my dear friends. It's a pleasure to be here this morning to share a few thoughts with you as you kick off the virtual conference on Invest Sri Lanka, Asia's next growth haven. You're marketing it as Sri Lanka's FDI and capital market showcase. I think that's an apt way of marketing it as well as reflecting it to the world. And I'm particularly pleased to be able to share a few thoughts at the time that you are doing so. Someone might say this is the worst time that you could concentrate on an investment promotion conference. Those who generally see half full glasses will say it's the worst time. They'll say, what on earth are you thinking of doing and inviting people to invest at a time when there is a lockdown, at a time when there are deteriorating macro fundamentals all over the world, at a time when there are challenging global conditions which makes it impossible for people to travel about. Tourism is at a standstill. At a time when the outcomes are unclear. We don't know when these things will change. At every time we have optimistic thoughts, but after some time again it bounces back into pessimistic thoughts. We have weak external accounts all over the world. So at that time, are we doing the right thing by talking about investment? But if you are really a savvy investor, I think you would look at the underlying factors at any time when we are talking about investment. Not only what is there on the surface, not just the torrential rain, but the richness of the soil is what you must be looking at. Not only the deafening noise, but the true melody that there is in the song. Not only the beauty, but also the durability. Can we sustain it? Can this be continuing? Not only what has been done, but what can be done. Where can we go? What is the potential? Now, these are all matters that I think savvy investors look at. And that's where this particular conference, I think, is going to score, because you would be reflecting not only on what is there on the surface, what we can see out there, but what is the deep meaning, what is the thrust that is available, which we should be concentrating upon. So let's dig a little deep. Let's drill down a little further. Let's examine the richness of the soil. Let's listen to the melody. Let's understand the durability. Let's analyze as to what can be done. And then if you do that, I would say you would see Sri Lanka's awesome potential. This was thought about some time ago. I remember when Ruchir Sharma wrote in his book, Breakout Nations, he had an entire chapter devoted for Sri Lanka in 2013 and 2014. We had potential. He talked about what can be done. He of course talked about the challenges as well as the dangers and the areas that we should be cautious about. But at the same time, if those are got right, the awesome potential that this country has and what it can do to investors was not lost on people like that who dug deep into Sri Lanka's context. So let's look at the glass as being half full. And I would like to talk about underlying valuations, underlying infrastructural programs that we have, the social development areas that Sri Lanka is talking about. I'm sure in the next few days, all of you will be reflecting on those areas, and I think there will be people who will talk about it at length, and therefore I don't want to talk about those in detail. But I would like to preface by saying one thing. that Sri Lanka's infrastructure development program started in 2006 during the time of Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa being the president at that time. And at that time, we started it while the war was going on. People asked us, are you mad to be doing these things? But in times of war, you need to prepare for peace. In times of peace, you will prepare for war. But in times of war, you got to prepare for peace. So at that time, we started on all the development projects. We started on the Hambantota port. We started on the Norachole power plant. We started on the infrastructure of the new highways. We started on the airport. We started on all those projects before the war was over. So that when the war was over, we had the canvas to go fast and forward. That's why Sri Lanka had 8% growth. It didn't happen automatically. It didn't suddenly fall down from heaven. It was through careful planning, careful strategies that were implemented that Sri Lanka was able to have that growth momentum during that period. So let's see what we can do again. I'll start with the capital markets. I have some responsibility for the capital markets, being the state minister who is responsible for that. Way back in 2014, Sri Lanka's market cap was $24.4 billion. Today, it's only $14.5 billion. There is a drop of $10 billion during the period of the last 7 years. But what does that tell you? That tells you that there is awesome potential, awesome value that is within the stock exchange companies that are listed. It is there with other companies as well. But those who come at this time and take up positions at this time will definitely benefit by that. And that's what this is all about. So invest at the right time. If you do invest at the right time, there is tremendous potential for you to realize your own investments at a very high level. Take the debt markets. In 2014, in Sri Lanka's government debt, there was as much as $3.4 billion invested. Today we have opened it out again. Today we are saying, come and invest in the government bonds. We'll give you even a guarantee on the exchange rate so that if there is a risk, that risk is also mitigated. So there is a huge opportunity there as well. Sri Lanka has never defaulted. Sri Lanka is making sure that everything goes in the right way to ensure that we can make ends meet and to see that that is done. And I can assure you that as well. There's opportunities for private equity. There are so many companies that have gaps in their investment levels, gaps in their capital that can be filled. So those can be also looked at by all the investors who are coming to Sri Lanka. The FDI opportunities are also very, very significant. There's a Hambantota industrial zone. I'm sure there will be topics that will be talked about today. There will be the farmer zone. There's the port-related activities. The Colombo Port City. We have just opened out with the law, and the law has been just enacted by Parliament. So there is investment opportunities in the port city. The IT sector, we have embraced 5G. Education, health, and commercial sectors are also available. Power and energy, hospitality and leisure, infrastructure development. These are all areas that Sri Lanka could have foreign direct investment coming in. And the laws that Sri Lanka has already promulgated will provide the space for those investments to come in and to be taken up by investors from all over the world. Just because there is COVID, just because there is a challenge at hand, we don't forget about our direction and our vision. If you have a son and you want to make him an engineer, or you have a daughter whom you want to make a doctor, because she falls ill for 3 days, you don't give up the idea. The same way, in a country, if you have challenges, you will meet those challenges, but at the same time, your overall vision and your goal must be looked at. So what will the government do? The government has a lot of things to do. It will improve the macro fundamentals. We are working hard at that. We are looking at non-debt inflows, and we'll work on that in the next few years as well. We will look at the improving of the doing business indicators. I think there's a session on that, and my ministry is also working on that in all the aspects of doing business, from starting a business to dealing with construction permits, getting electricity, registering a property, paying taxes, trading across borders, enforcing contracts, resolving insolvency, and all that. And at the same time, we'll provide incentives. We know investors want incentives. Yes, we will provide that. We will provide a sustainable framework. That's why the laws have to be there. We have to provide the enabling legislation. We will provide the policy consistency. Even in the midst of COVID, we didn't change our policies. We allowed the tax policies that we have introduced to continue. We didn't change those. We will ensure social harmony. That's why some very ambitious projects like Water for All, it will cost us quite a bit of money, but we want to see that every single person in Sri Lanka has the basic necessities. We will also ensure that there is human-elephant conflict as well as 100,000 kilometers of roads. Those are all done in order to ensure that Sri Lanka can go forward with a lot of interest in the future. So we would ask you to also take a few steps. Think long term. Back yourselves. Help to maintain the macro fundamentals. Forge partnerships between yourselves and foreign investors. Build spaces and reserves in your own companies. And then you would find that you would have the necessary ability to go forward with Sri Lanka. I would like to end by reminding you of a little film that I saw, The Life of Pi. Life of Pi, there was a shipwreck. He got into this boat, and then in the boat, he had to go through that journey with Richard Parker, which was the Bengali tiger. But he went through that. And that's sometimes the challenge that we have. Sometimes we have challenges. We have big challenges, but we have to go through those challenges in order to realize our dreams and our goals. Thank you very much.